right now we're getting ready to start the 5150 show, and sorry, everybody, I am not going to do my loose talk tonight. We could always get that in. That's a given. That's going to happen. That's just every week. What's getting ready to happen, does not happen very often. I have a very special guest on the line via Brooklyn, New York is where she's calling from. And she's a good old friend of mine. I had met her a long time ago in the game, and then lost contact with her, but not with her work. Everybody, we have on the line holding on, and I'm going to explain to you briefly who she is, and then hopefully she's going to have enough time to break down one of her most talked about works. I have Rebecca Scott, also known as Holly Hood, and she is the author of HipHop Illuminati. She's got 25 years in the hip-hop game. Of course, she's a writer, and she's a cool-ass lady, boy, and she is definitely someone that you most definitely want in your social media network. So please, welcome Rebecca Scott, everybody, and she's going to break down as best she can everything to you, and hopefully, I know you're going to have some questions. So welcome, Rebecca. What's up, girl? You on there?
Hi.
Good. There she is.
Hey. Girl, well, I guess you want me to give them a little history.
Please do.
I came into in like the well, let me go back to I came to the game actually before hip hop actually started. I was living in the Bronx, and Africa, a lot of people might know his story. He was the president of a gang called the Black Spades, and was, the president of the female sector of the Black Spades. And we used to do rapping over records out in the street on 3rd Avenue in the Bronx, 169th Street, Franklin, all of those areas. We would just do it as a hobby. No one ever knew that this, what we were doing as a hobby was going to become hip-hop. At any rate, as time on, people started to get deals. And an artist that wound up managing years later, KRS-One, he got a record deal, and he was from the Bronx. So we started seeing our friends getting record deals, and we tried to figure how we could get in where we fit in. So I put together this little girls group, and we went up against the Fat Boys at Tin Pan Apple. They were starting to look for talent, and we Fat Boys were not known yet. And this company called Tin Pan Apple had a concert at the Fever Skate Club, and me and my girls, we went up against the Fat Boys, and needless to say, we lost miserably because they are way talented, and we sucked. We were just cute. That was it. And that didn't work. Back then it didn't work. Today it works, but back then it didn't work. And so I still wanted to get in on this because I saw the potential, and everybody was starting to get put on. Russell had this little dingy office over on 17th Street, and he was starting to make noise with Curtis Blow and his brother, and I'm like, man, how can I get in? So I decided to get in on the management end, and my first group was Main Source, who had a rap ballad called Looking Out the Front Door, and they did so many other songs, too, watching Roger do his thing and that stuff. And then eventually I got to manage KRS-One, Mad Lion, Channel Live, and I just stayed in the game. I worked at EMI, Atlantic Records, did a whole bunch of stuff, and so that's pretty much my history in the game. I even worked with Tupac briefly when he was alive, and when he passed, I did the movie. I financed it and I produced it called Thug Immortal. So if you get a chance, the listeners, they can Google that and they'll see my name in the credits on that. And I also financed the second House Party too. So, I was pretty big in the game. I was one of the biggest females in the game, moving and shaking and making noise. And that's how we got down back then.
Right. Now, a lot of people assume that they understand, or they think, anyway, that they have a good understanding of exactly what the Illuminati is all about. See, a lot of times, I think recently, too, a lot of people are equating it with just the hip-hop. They just think it's something that just new, that just popped up. They have no idea. Can you try to break it down in the most...
I can, and I will. Let me just say how I got to the whole thing with the Illuminati in terms of my personal experience. When I was working in hip-hop, by the 90s, the game was starting to change. And a lot of us who had independent companies, like myself, like Irv, like Russell, my friend who's currently in jail, Jimmy Henchman, a lot of us had independent companies, but we were from the streets. And during the time that hip-hop was making that big transition from what it started out, which was very positive and very uplifting, to the gangster rap and to rapping about money and cars and clothes, there was also people who were coming into the game who were not from the hood. They were not from our culture. And my experience, how I wound up writing HipHop Illuminati, is I actually wrote it when I was in jail. I wound up getting into bed with some people who, I had $1 million office space over on 42nd Street. Myself and Mad Lion had a recording studio, but I ran into a woman named Patricia Durst, who was from the billionaire Durst family, who owned what was then at the time called the Durst Building. It's now called number 4 Times Square. And she wanted to get into the mix, or she was either already in the mix, I don't know, but she wound up knowing who I was and contacted me and gave me $1 million office space to do my thing. And we wound up getting in bed together on some real wicked type stuff. And I can say this much. At the same time that John Forte from the Fugees got taken down for the drug bust, so did I. And a lot of us were doing things that we thought we left in the street in order to keep our businesses that we had established from scratch. So I had Great Scott Management, which was my management company that I had KRS-One and Lion and Channel Live and all of them under. Plus I was doing, like I said, I was doing movies and stuff. And here come these people who put something on the table, and it was like, you do or you die. And I could see that people were dropping all around me. This was during the time when they had the hip-hop police were out there, and people were just getting snatched up on any kind of thing. And so I did it. But what happened is when I decided that I didn't want to do it anymore, I wound up doing 10 years for drug trafficking. And during that time, I decided, you know what, I'm going to blow this whole shit up because I got caught out there. A lot of my people got caught out there. People don't know. Even the whole thing with BMF, there's a whole lot more to that as well. There's a lot of stuff I cannot say. But in my books, I say what I can say. And what I can say is that dirty people came into the game who weren't even connected to hip-hop, but they had the money to change the game. And it was all part of an agenda of the wealthy whites. What they feared is that for the first time in history, we, young black people, had something that was making people millionaires overnight. And the one thing the money people are afraid of is you getting too close to their money. And so if they cannot control the money and losing control of it, that's the whole meaning and purpose behind the whole formation of the Illuminati from the get-go. It was started by 17 wealthy families. It started with 13. It eventually went up to 17. And that includes the Disneys and a whole bunch of others. And the thing about it is that it was all about money, and it still is. It's about money and control. So its infiltration into hip-hop is relatively new, but they've always been in entertainment. The Illuminati has had their hands in, way back when Beethoven was making music. There were Freemasons. As a matter of fact, he was one. His teacher was one. Amadeus Mozart. He was also a lodge brother. And, you know, it went on. It eventually got into rock. And so these people have always had their hands in things that had the ability to control the people. And they only became interested in hip-hop when it began making money. So my book, HipHop Illuminati, which is one of 8 books that I've written, but they're all of my books deal in some form with either hip-hop or the New World Order, because it's very serious. This is something that's real right now, that's happening. And so I break it down as much as I can without setting myself up. One of the reasons I remain in the hood and stay in the cut is because I am a target. And, you know, anyone who's been to jail knows that even when you come home, they still keep tabs on you. They see what you're doing, and you have to kind of, keep a low profile. So what I'm doing is very serious. I'm waking people up, and I do have things that I need to be concerned about. So so that's what I write my books, to enlighten people, and in my hope that they will read it, even if they wait until after I'm gone to read it, at least the books are out there. So that's one thing they can't take back from me. The books are there.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
You, girl, wait. This is what I'm trying to tell people. Like, there's just so much more. I mean, and I appreciate you, like, breaking it down in the most layman terms, because we're going to take a break, but I know that there's so much. I know, because I know your background, and I just want all the callers to get as much as they can in case they have questions. I know they do, but we're going to take a break, but I'm going to give the call-in number in case you would like to either speak to Rebecca or ask anything. The number to call in here is 855-369-9898, and you can also Twitter at Foxxhole with 2 X's. Rebecca, please stay on the line with us, and also later on in the hour, I would love for you to promote the rest of your books, because they are awesome, and your blogs and everything. So please stay with us, and we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is Darlene Ortiz, 5150 Show. I got with me still Bobby.
Bobby Glanton Smith.
Bobby's back in the house today. And we are still waiting on Mr. Corey Holcomb. I apologize, everybody, but for some reason, these Chi-Town folks, when they get here to L.A., they just, oh, I forgot, Guy Black is from Chicago, too. Hey, they really assume they know how to work their way around L.A. traffic. Don't play. This thing is a mess. Anyway, Rebecca, you still there, girl? Is she
Rebecca.
There? She there?
Rebecca.
Hello?
There you go, mommy. All right, look, we're gonna take one of our first callers, if that's okay.
Oh, okay. Can I just throw in 2 things before we take the call?
Of course, go ahead.
Things, and I'll be real quick.
Sure.
My first break was actually given by the great Harry Belafonte. Hip-hop was making so much noise in the Bronx. Harry Belafonte came all the way from Hollywood to produce one of the first hip-hop movies, and he recruited all the talent from the Bronx. And it was called East Street. And so I just want to say that. That was my first break.
I remember that movie.
And
That's
then
one
the
of my
other
favorite
thing
movies.
Huh?
No, I'm still in awe. Like Harry Belafonte. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Where did that come? Wow.
Yeah, he produced the first hip-hop movie, because that's how people realized that we had something hot, and it made it all the way to California. And he came over here to New York, and there were lines, because all of us, that's all we used to do was rap and dance in the streets. And I guess, he got wind of it, and he decided, hey, this will make some money. Yes. So that was my first
Harry
break.
Belafonte.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then the other thing I wanted to say, and I want to get into it a little more, but I'll do it after the call, is that I just want to say thank you so much for having me on the show. And I'm really honored, because some things I turned down, but one of the reasons that I accepted this, aside from just being a big fan of Jamie, but I became more of a fan when I heard his hip-hop interview on Foxxhole from like a year ago, where he was actually talking about the influence of the music on the youth. And he doesn't even know how close to home he hit with that interview. So I'll get more into that later. But
nice. I'm gonna have to look that one up. I wonder if we have the date of that one. Oh well, you're so welcome. And thank you,
send you
girl.
the link. Yeah, I can send you
beautiful. Do that.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for even enlightening us. You coming on here as a guest. This is we are.
Well,
we feel very privileged.
Girl. I mean, come on.
Hey.
Come on.
Thanks for that. Hey, now, that's what I'm talking about. Look, we're going to take this first call, Rebecca, from Soul Wonder, and he or she is from Dallas. Go ahead, Soul Wonder.
Hey, y'all, how's everybody doing?
Hey, thank you for calling.
Hey.
What's up, OG Bobby Johnson? What's up,
Hey, hold up, man. Hold up. It's Bobby Glanton, brother.
I know it's Bobby Glanton Smith. But you know, OG,
all right, I'm just checking in.
Much respect
all
for
right.
you, and guess what? All we need is 15 minutes. I'm right there with you. Darlene, how you doing? Corey, always late as hell. Or late as
he'll be here in a minute.
Rebecca, how you doing? I'm sitting up there as I'm listening to you talk about the Illuminati stuff. I'm just, Googling and stuff. Like, you've done some amazing stuff. You've been a part of some stuff. And I'm a producer, been doing it for a music producer, doing it about 7 or 8 years now. I'm not amazing in it. It's just my dream. But I'm hip-hop all the way down to the core. I goes back all the way to the 80s and all that stuff in the Bronx. I know all about that stuff. So I'm right there with you. Hip-hop is probably the single most influential thing in this entire world. In this whole world. It's everywhere. It has become real, real big. Real, real big. So you was the party. I'd like to say thank you personally for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
As far as the Illuminati stuff, I've heard a lot of stuff, a lot of different stories that has been associated. I've been kind of fascinated with myself. So, like, I remember there was a story from this guy from BET that helped start Rap City. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was from D.C., I believe, and how he talks about how they changed, how things started changing with the music game, and, you know, the music started changing, and he was involved in that. It kind of brought him into a scene to where there was some important people and made him want to do lewd things that he really couldn't speak about. He was saying that was Illuminati. The death of Shakir Stewart, you know, stuff like that. What is your take on that stuff like that? You know anything about that?
I do, actually. I want to say, first of all, thank you for your compliments. But the actual hip hop genre was started by Africa and Kool Herc. I got to put that out here because those are the
I know that. I know all that.
And we just kept it going. But in terms of okay. Whew, you put a lot out there, so let me see where I can begin. Okay, earlier, I don't know if you heard me talking about how the classical musicians were affiliated with the Illuminati. These people, all throughout history, they keep their thing going. Even though they die off, it's like they don't die, they multiply. So one of the things that was written, it was, I believe, The Magic Flute, which was written by Mozart. Do you know that Disney, who is one of the Illuminati families, they actually reincarnated that? So it's all connected in terms of the Hollywood connection and the things that happen. Now, BET, which you mentioned, do you know who owns BET now? Viacom, which is headed by multi-billionaire Sumner Redstone. So people, you know, when I do my books, I try to get people to put the things together, to line up the dominoes so they can see how everything is falling. Because now you have to think to yourself, why would this old, very, very wealthy, he's already got billions of bucks, why would he want to control a black entertainment television?
It goes back to what I just said.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the connection with Shakir, one of my books is actually called Violator for Life, and it's a book written about my good friend who passed away, Chris Lighty. It was Chris Lighty, story, which a lot of people say are very similar to the Shakir Stewart story. I did not know Shakir, and one of the things you'll see in my books is that I try to refrain from talking about things that I don't know. So I only get into what I do know. And there was a lot about Chris and about things that were going on with him for years and different things that were actually engineered from behind the scenes. Even some of these beefs are engineered by different people. And so I put it out there, and I couldn't make the comparison other than the fact that they were both supposedly killed themselves, and they were both very influential. But I get deep in terms of what I knew about Chris. Unfortunately, I didn't know the other brother, so I didn't do a book about him, and I didn't include him in Chris's book. But I wouldn't be surprised if, and in my book, I reveal what I think really happened, and Chris did not kill himself. I knew this brother. He did not shoot himself. So my thoughts are...
Nope. Go ahead, Rebecca, but I know that we got to take a couple more callers and put them in there, though. But go ahead and if you could finish
Did I answer your brother?
Say again?
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I had one more question. You had mentioned Jimmy Hinchman. Now, stories have been coming out lately that he was supposedly the brother that helped start this East Coast, West Coast beef with Pac and Biggie with the shooting at the Hit Factory. Is there any truth to that, or is that a fabrication?
Well, I'm going to say this. It's amazing how, as time goes by, people forget Diddy's part in things. It's amazing how the characters are switched as time goes on. So I'm going to leave it at that.
And I have a theory about that too, but I guess we don't have time. But I'm glad you said it because nobody mentions his part, man.
That's right. And you know what, So Wonder? Yes, she does. And you know what, So Wonder? There's so much on her website and her blogs, and so you'll have to, go on there and find a lot of stuff out too. There it is.
I'm already
on
it.
Thank
you so much, and thank you for the call, So Wonder.
All right, y'all later.
Thank you. All right, Rebecca, we're going to take the next one. Hey, Dino from Chicago. You're on the line with Darlene, Rebecca, and Bobby. What's happening?
What's good with y'all, man?
Hey.
First of all,
right,
I just want to say, not to be rude, how you doing, Darlene, Bobby, what's good? And Miss Lady, I know Corey's just losing his fucking mind. Wherever he is, if he listening to the
He's
show.
coming through the door right now, man.
That's funny that you speak about that, Dino, because he's actually...
Well, Corey gonna understand, man, because for the simple fact, she's just not... When you do answer their questions, you taking a long time to answer them. You talking about 50 other things before you get to your point that don't got anything to do with the point. You giving your history. I understand you want to.
Well, we had to give her history out so everybody knew exactly who was on the line. So sorry about that, but no, the next callers we're going to go ahead. We are going to mention that we're going to have to keep the questions short for the next callers. So we are going to get to that. So sorry about that, Dino. But did you have a question?
Illuminati with hip hop. That's all I'm saying.
What happened? I didn't catch the beginning of that.
I'm saying I thought the point of the show was the Illuminati, but specifically in hip-hop when it got to do with these little kids wearing tight
It is,
things.
if you want to ask a question, but that was the background of it, because Illuminati just doesn't exist just with hip-hop. She gave you the beginning, the background. What do you want to know about it?
I don't want to know any. I understand it. I thought that's what she was supposed to talk about, but she was giving more of a history lesson than talking about what it got to do with today, with the society and what's going on.
With all due respect, brother, with all due respect, I was asked to give my history. That's why I did. I mind to get into the book, but I was asked to give my history. And not only that, your resume is what gives you your credibility. I can't just jump on a show and people who may not know of me and say, oh, I'm talking about this, this, and this, and they don't know my resume. How would I know this and this if I hadn't been in it? So I'm sorry if I took up too much of your time, but you're taking quite a bit of time to get to your questions. So what is it?
You got one, Dino, or no?
Explaining pretty much who you are instead of what we really got to talk about that serious.
Yeah, he didn't get it. It's okay. You don't understand. She just explained why she spoke about. I asked her to give a background. Yeah, thanks for calling in, Dino. Sorry about that, Rebecca.
No problem. He's right. I do talk a lot.
No, but we better understand him. We had to understand. I asked her to give her background.
I try to break it down because I don't know who may not know where I'm going or where I'm coming from with my information. So I try to break it down.
And
you did. Thank you for that. Rebecca, Mr. Corey Holcomb just walked in on the line, so he's here with us.
Yeah, I'm the late nigga. The Illuminati made me late.
You know what? There we go.
They conspired to make sure the freeway was too packed for me to get here on time.